Hopefully the lighting and sound is better than my last video. Uh, Yay. Well, today I decided that I was going to participate in Bunny, aka Graveyard Girls, paranormal tag. Now, I've had, a few, paranormal experiences. I don't very often talk about them, but, thought now's the time. It's about time that people started talking about this as it was normal, instead of thinking everyone's crazy. So what if we are crazy? We could be. It's possible, I suppose. Anyhow, ever since I was little, I've had weird stuff happen to me. I didn't tell anybody at first because, as I say, I thought I was crazy. I didn't want people to think I was crazy when I realised I wasn't crazy. Because, you say, oh, I saw a man that wasn't there, and then people automatically assume that you're schizophrenic. Because that's the way we work these days. As I've gotten older, I can fully appreciate that people might think that I'm hallucinating something, and, I'm open to that. I might be. It feels real to me, but I could be. Anyhow, one of the biggest, well, I wouldn't say biggest because it isn't something that happens all at once, but one of the most often things that happens to me is I see a cat I used to have. When I was born, my mum had a couple of cats, and one of her cats gave birth soon after I was born, and she kept one of the kittens, and I pretty much grew up with this kitten, and his name was Heathcliff, and he was a black kitty. And all through my life, I had Heathcliff there with me. And then, when I know I was in college, and it was just before, it was not long. Oh, I must have been 18. Yeah, 18. I was in college. I was applying for university places and all sorts, and he got sick. And he was 18. He had a really long life. He had a very happy life, and he died, and I was really, really upset because I'd never known a time without Heathcliff. He'd always been there. I'd grown up with him. He was my baby, and he was my brother, really. I'd known him all my life, and then he was gone, and it was just so weird for me without him. Now, soon after he died, me and my mum started seeing a cat that really looked like him. Now, I say really looked like him, and you're all going to say, oh, a black cat, you saw a black cat. If you do, you saw a black cat. They're everywhere. It could have been any cat. But there were a few distinguishing things about Heathcliff. For a start off, he was huge. Literally huge. I've only ever once seen a cat bigger than this cat, because he was like a panther, pretty much. Actually, my mum actually said he reminded her of a black panther quite often. But I wasn't quite that huge, but pretty big for a house cat. And another thing was, he always refused to wear a collar. Now, all of the other cats that lived near us all had collars. Our next door neighbour had a black cat, but the cat always wore a collar, and the cat was much, much smaller than Heathcliff. Heathcliff, you tried to put a collar on him, he'd take it off. There was one time when I was very little, my parents bought him a flea collar, and he ran off down the road, and when he came back, he didn't have a collar. Because he used to just take them off and like wearing them, which suited him. So after a while they stopped forcing him into a collar, and just let him live without one, because, don't want him to be uncomfortable. This cat we were seeing everywhere had no collar. He was huge. He looked like Heathcliff. 18 years with the same cat? Think I'd recognise him. Now, for a few weeks after he died, we saw this cat literally everywhere. Opened the door in the morning, there he was. But every time we tried to get close to him, he would just run away. And, I firmly believed that that was my cat, that was Heathcliff. And he just couldn't let us close because he wasn't allowed to, you know what? Maybe that's how it works in the other world. And, as I say, we saw him pretty much everywhere for a few weeks, and then we started seeing him less and less and less. Now, as I said earlier, I was doing a lot of university application forms and stuff at the time. Now, every time I got really stressed over something, or like every time just before I was due to get a letter, I'd see this cat. And the day my university, yes, my letter that said I got into the place I applied, I walked down the street from the college I went to before I went to university, and I had to walk past a post box to get home, and there he was, sitting next to the post box. It's my cat. Now, because I'd noticed this pattern of always seeing him before I got a letter from university, I ran home. And there on the doormat was my letter, and I picked it up, and I was so scared to open it. And then when I did, there was my acceptance letter. Now, obviously, when I went away from home, I had a lot of problems at university, which eventually led me to leave after 2 years. Now, every time I got really super stressed out, I would see this damn cat. Now, bear in mind, I was not at a local university. I was pretty much like 200 miles up the road. I was in Scotland. And, you know, I'm from England. Okay, I'm from Northern England, but I was studying in Scotland. I don't think it is quite 200 miles. It was Galashiels, which is just past Edinburgh. Anyhow, as I say, things didn't really work out for me, and I was getting really, really stressed out, and I was seeing this cat. And I knew it was him, and it relaxed me, because I knew he was just, well, this probably just sounds crazy to anybody that hasn't had a similar experience, but I knew he was just trying to tell me it was going to be okay. Now, in between my first and second year, when I came home, I met my wonderful Kev, and yeah, he became my boyfriend. But before we really, really got together, I went to a gig with him. It was Gosminster Dassish, and I managed to lock myself out of my house. Now, I didn't realise that until I got home. I didn't have my keys in my bag. My mum was asleep in the house, so was my brother. He was hammering on the door, and they sleep like the dead or something. Yeah, funny. And I couldn't get an answer, and I ended up having to go back to Kev's because I'd locked myself out. There's no way I could get in. I couldn't sleep on the street, you know. So I ended up having to go back, and of course I was really worried because I didn't know him very well, and, you know, strange guy. You know, scary, yeah. Now, in the taxi on my way there, the taxi slowed down randomly in the middle of nowhere, and I started freaking out. And there was my cat. There he was, walking along the side of the road, and he knew that firstly there was obviously a reason for the slowing down. Apparently, it was a speed camera or something. Oh well. And secondly, I knew that I wasn't going to be like murdered or raped or anything when I got to Kev's house. I knew everything was going to be fine, and it was. We've been together 2 years now. Yay! Now, the last time I saw this cat, my wonderful Heathcliff, was pretty sad for me. See, my mum had a dog, and she had her a long time, Tinker, and a few weeks ago we found out that she had a really big tumour, and there wasn't really anything we could do about it. So we treated her for as long as they could, and eventually she had to be put down. And we were really, really sad about this. And a few days before it happened, I went to see my mum, and I didn't know she'd picked a date yet. I didn't know she'd decided. And I was going down the street, and I passed the post box, and there was my cat. And I felt really sad at first, because I knew this meant that he'd come to say that, yeah, Tinker was off too. But at the same time, I knew that it meant that he would look after her, and she'd be okay. And I knew it was just him saying that there's more to life than living, that there is something after this, and yeah, course, I got to my mum's house and she told me pretty much what I knew she was going to say. She said that Tinka was really, really ill and we were that she had to go, basically. She she couldn't keep her alive any longer because she was in pain. And it was really, really hard for us. But I know that she's okay now because I know that my cat's gonna look after her. Well, I say look after, probably tease the hell out of her like he always did when she was alive. When the pair of them were together, my cat used to sit on the table and tease the dog. Anyhow, as I say, I've had a lot of paranormal experiences in my life, and I'm probably going to talk about more of them maybe in the future, depending on what people say. You know, drop me some comments. If you think I'm crazy, tell me I'm crazy. I already know. If you've had similar experiences with passed on pets, popping by to say hi, let me know, because it'd be really awesome if I could hear from other people that have had similar things happen to them. Anyhow, hope you enjoyed this video. Bye bye.